Just found this piece laying on the surface here. It has material that's been removed from it. I'm going to take this with me, and I'll talk to you more about that later on, because it's kind of an interesting piece. We'll talk about it. Well, I was walking along and I just happened to spot this, and I'm picking that one out because it goes along with the story I want to tell you on the last piece I just showed you. These are, in my opinion, interconnected, and we'll talk about it, but you'll notice here that it's been arc-pecked there, forming a ridge, and it is a bird-type effigy. So, story with the two pieces that I just showed you in the clips out on the field. Well, this is one of them. This is the first one I showed you, and if you'll notice here, it's been arc-pecked along here to remove material. I've talked a lot about arc-pecking. It was used a lot by the Native American Indians. And then this other part was left smooth. As you look at it, it resembles very, very closely the face or the head and profile of a bird. And if that was the only one that I had found there over the years, I would say, wow, it's coincidental, but very cool. And then the same day on the field, found this one. And again, it's been arc-pecked here. There, it's left a beak, so to speak, down the center. The rest of the head is smooth, again resembling a bird, front on, face on, full. And my experience over the years has shown that the Native American people indeed were protected in their beliefs, protected by the Thunderbird. And the Thunderbird was very important to the Native American people, and so I believe that these are representations of the head of the Thunderbird. But why? With just two pieces, would I think that? It's a very good question, but there's more. Now, I found this one also on the field. It was a different day, and I'm showing you a picture of it on one side or the other, because up close you can see there's lines etched into the surface, but again, it has that profile of a bird. And then there's a specific type of tool that I've been finding, and it would be, here's one of them. Very, very interesting tool. It is a knife, very sharp along here. It's been pressure flaked. But here, as you look at it, again in profile, it looks like a bird's head. The eye here, the very profound beak there. I don't know if you can see that or not, but it has been pressure flaked along the edge and is a knife. Now, if you're using this for cutting, this design actually is pretty cool, because you can bear down a lot with putting your one finger into that eye hole. But I do believe that that is meant to represent a Thunderbird's head. And that kind of tool I find quite often. Here's another one. Same thing, the eye, the beak. It's not as sharp as the other one was, but that's, I think, because of usage. Then we have this one, which is a little more, well, it's of the same type. The eye hole, the curved pronounced beak, and so that's a very cool one. Now here's another one which is a little bit different. This is made out of I believe it's shale. It's not a real hard stone, sedimentary stone, but again, you can see pronounced like top notch on it, and the beak on the bottom. And again, this would have been used, well, not so much for cutting, because it's not a very durable stone for cutting. So it would have probably been if it is indeed what I think it is, and I make mistakes, but it would make a personal effigy. Like, I hate to compare it to this, but like we might hang a cross at our house. The Native American people, because of their belief that the Thunderbird is their great protector, may have just had this as a piece of portable art that they took with them here and there. Now, these next three pieces are, a bit questionable. This little piece, bird's head, its body, the beak, the neck down to the body. And this is actually a piece of fossilized coral. But I find a lot of coral there, fossilized coral on the fields here in the Saginaw Valley that had been incorporated as parts of a tool. This is not a tool. This, again, if it is indeed a small bird effigy, would have been, again, a portable art, or it could have even been put into a person's medicine bag that they would that they would wear around their neck, maybe thinking that it afforded them more protection from whatever. These two pieces, again, are a bit more, well, not really, never mind. This one, again, it's not a tool, but it has the head, the beak, and it's just, the resemblance is, in my opinion, because of all the other stuff I'm finding there that look like birds' heads, I think the resemblance to a bird head here is probably on purpose. I don't know if you can see this. I'll show it to you in a photo, but there's also a little fossil here of a shell, brachiopod. And then, lastly, this one, which is much like the one I just showed you, except it doesn't have a fossil in it, but it's the same thing. It could have been worn in the medicine pouch, or carried by somebody who needed the protection of the Thunderbird. So why is the Thunderbird so important, and why would I think that the people along the Saginaw River so many years ago would have been making so many effigies as a representation of the Thunderbird? Well, let's look first and consider that the Thunderbird is a mythological creature. And as I've already said, he was the protector of the Native American Anishinaabe people. And they were believed sacred by many Native American peoples across the Americas, not just here in Michigan. So it was, imagine, or I like to imagine, as I find these pieces, the Saginaw River thousands of years ago would have been much different than it is today. And in that dim veil of antiquity, I can picture these people that are somewhat insular, even though they had trade routes that ran throughout the Americas. They were somewhat insular, and they would look upon these pieces as their protector, to take care of them against maybe natural disasters or warring tribes, and different things of that nature. So the Thunderbird, as I just told you, is part of many tribes' mythology. The Ojibwa people are of particular interest to me, as are the Sioux and the Algonquin. So I'm going to tell you just a little bit about each one and what they thought about the Thunderbird. The Ojibwa legend of the Thunderbirds claimed that the creature was created by Nanabazu, who was a cultural icon, hero in the Ojibwa peoples, that the Thunderbird protected them from underwater spirits, particularly Mishipishu, who was a wicked, evil mountain lion who had an immense tail and lived under the waters of the Great Lakes. And with the swishing back and forth of its great tail, it would cause the often severe, violent storms that come up so unexpectedly on the Great Lakes. So they believe it protected them from that evil water spirit. Now, they also believed that the Thunderbird lived in migrated to the land of the Ojibwa during the spring with other birds when they migrated back from the south. And when which was the most dangerous season, spring, summer, and early fall, the most dangerous season poised by Mishipishu. And so when fall, they migrated south with other birds after the passing of the danger season. But the Ojibwa Thunderbird legends suggest these creatures were also able to punish humans who broke moral laws, and so they had a moral authority. And as the anger of the Thunderbird is known to be extreme, this would have been a great incentive to maintain good moral conduct. Now, the Thunderbird in the Sioux mythology claims that the Thunderbird was a noble creature that protected humans from the Unkatihila during the old times. The Unkatila was said to be an extremely dangerous reptilian monster, and without the help of the Thunderbird, it seems unlikely that man would have alone been able to overcome these creatures. I find this one particularly interesting because of the mention of the reptilian creatures. In so many cultures, the evil, which is the evil which comes upon man and woman, is perpetuated by a reptilian race, which many people believe, seriously, many people believe, is still in charge of the powers behind the United States, behind China, behind all the powers of the world. And then lastly, let's look at the Algonquin people. The Algonquin peoples had a deep respect for the Thunderbird in their culture, and they respected it for the same reason, I'm not comparing the two, but for the same reason that Christians respect Jehovah God, or Jesus, Lord, and the Holy Spirit. According to their legends, Thunderbirds were ancestors of the human race. Their stories often tell of the Thunderbird's part in the creation of everything, the universe and everything else. And according to their mythology, Thunderbirds ruled over the upper world, and the great horned serpent ruled over the underworld. Now, isn't it interesting that the ruler of the underworld is a horned serpent, as we depict so many things of the devil with horns? Just kind of an interesting coincidence. Anyways, and as its followers believed, by throwing lightning at underwater creatures, that it was able to destroy or keep them in check. Thunderbirds in general were creatures of enormous size. They were huge, bigger than anything that is out there today, though some people still believe that the Thunderbird exists today. But it seems highly unlikely because it would be bigger than a small airplane and would be hard to miss on radar and all the other, the airplanes flying around. They would see them, I'm sure. But anyways, they are often depicted as being immense in size and known to have bright and colorful feathers that were very pleasing to look at. Each flap of their wings, allowed them to cover great distances and caused a mighty thundering sound. Now that reminds me of Alpena, which is about an hour and a half, hour and 45 minutes north of me, where there is a place called Thunder Bay, and the city of Alpena is on Thunder Bay. And interestingly, at the Jesse Besser Museum in Alpena, they have a collection of stone discs. They're small, but they're discs that were found in archaeological context, and they show different entities of the Algonquin mythology. And one of them, which I'm showing you right now, is of the Thunderbird, and then the other is of Mishipishu, who is the evil mountain lion spirit that dwells underneath the waters of the lakes. And also, interestingly, on Thunder Bay, it's an interesting place for the Thunderbird to go because there is an almost mysterious sound of thunder all the time. Some places you hear louder than others. My ex-wife Kathy and I once in a while would go out to Negwegan State Park, which was on Thunder Bay, and you could hear the thundering sound. And I've not heard an explanation for it. I'm sure there's a very logical explanation for it, but it was kind of interesting and maybe just even a little bit eerie. So they were known to have teeth and claws, and that they were an imposing sight. And as I already said, they were the great protector of many of the Native American cultures throughout the Americas. So that's what I wanted to show you and talk to you about, the possibility that along the Saginaw River, just as it was up in Alpena, where there were discs with the figures of these spiritual entities on them, that the Native Americans here on the river made these different effigies. They're not just happenstance. Some of them may be natural. These two, I can see where they could be natural occurring, but also I don't think so because of all the other ones that I've found there. Well, I thank you very much for stopping by. I've enjoyed talking with you. I hope you've enjoyed this short video. And please remember, I love you all very much. God bless you. And I'll be back with you real soon, God willing.